All right, time to boost those English conversation skills. We're going way past just, hello, my name is, and then this deep dive into the real deal, those daily interactions, Using this really interesting podcast episode we found called Life Conversations with James and Sophia.
Right.
It's specifically for English learners.
Yeah.
And it's got tons of useful phrases and cultural stuff, the kind you won't find in like a typical textbook.
Exactly. It's really for navigating those everyday situations that kind of can trip up even, people who've been learning English for a while.
I can only imagine. Oh, it reminds me of this time I was trying to get coffee in this packed cafe.
Oh, yeah.
And I totally blanked on how to ask for it to go. I ended up just like awkwardly pointing at my cup and mumbling something about takeaway.
Oh, I can totally see that happening. Those on-the-spot situations can really throw you off, can't they? But what's interesting is even something as basic as ordering a coffee to go, it can have like its own cultural quirks in different English-speaking countries,
Really? Like what?
Well, for example, sometimes to go is the usual term, but other places you might hear takeaway or even takeout. And then there's like the whole etiquette of how you ask. Do you just say it right when you order, or do you wait till they ask if you're eating there?
Wow, I never even thought of that. So how do you avoid those awkward moments and sound more natural?
That's where this podcast is great. It breaks down these everyday situations, starting with greetings and introductions.
Okay.
But it goes way beyond, hello, how are you? It gets into things like how to respond to compliments, introducing someone else, or even excusing yourself politely.
Okay, that's already way more helpful than my old phrase book.
Right. And it's not just about giving you the phrases, it explains like the reasoning behind them. Like why it's polite to ask about someone's day, even if you don't actually want to hear about their whole schedule.
Well, it's not just words, it's understanding why people say them.
Exactly. And that's when it really clicks. Once you get those little things, you'll not only sound more fluent, but you'll also feel more confident talking with native speakers.
Okay, I'm hooked. So let's say I've got those first impressions down. What about when I'm actually, ready to eat? What does the podcast say about ordering at a restaurant?
Yes. The art of figuring out menus and making your food wishes known. One thing it really points out is being clear and direct when you order.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask if you're not sure about something or need to know what's in it.
That makes sense, but I always worry about sounding too picky or demanding. Is there a polite way to do that?
Absolutely. The podcast gives examples. You could say, could you please tell me more about this dish? Or would it be possible to have the salad without dressing? It's all about making your requests sound nice and considerate.
Okay, phew. That's good to know. So I've ordered my food, enjoying my meal. Now it's time for the bill. Any tips on how to handle that smoothly?
Actually, the podcast points out a really interesting cultural thing here. In some cultures, it's rude to ask for the bill directly. But in a lot of English-speaking countries, it's totally fine to politely signal to the server that you're ready.
Oh, good to know. So it wouldn't be a faux pas to just ask for the bill.
Not at all. It suggests phrases like, could we have the bill, please? Or, we're ready to settle up whenever you have a moment.
Got it. Direct but respectful.
Exactly.
And what about splitting the bill? Is that something you need to say up front or just figure it out at the end?
That's a great question. They recommend saying how you want to pay when you order, especially with a group.
Okay.
A simple, we'll be paying separately, or could we get separate checks, will avoid any confusion later.
Okay, so I've aced greetings, ordered like a pro, and tackled the bill without any awkwardness.
Nice.
Feeling pretty good right now.
You should. You're well on your way to mastering these everyday English conversations. But wait, there's more.
Oh.
We've got shopping, transportation, even personal growth to explore still.
Awesome. Bring it on. I'm ready to dive into those next.
All right. So you've conquered the restaurant. Nice work. Now, let's talk about shopping, another everyday thing where knowing the right phrases and cultural cues is key.
Okay, I'm all ears. Because sometimes I feel a bit lost in stores.
Yeah.
Especially when I need to ask for help finding something or like figuring out sizes.
I get it.
Yeah.
This is where knowing some key phrases can really help you feel more confident. For example, the podcast really stresses using polite and specific language when you're asking for help.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, where's the milk? Try something like, excuse me, could you tell me where I can find the milk, please?
Ah, I see. It's those magic words, please and thank you.
Exactly. And being specific about what you need makes it easier for them to understand you.
Right.
It's also good to know different ways to ask about sizes. Say you're not sure about your size in a certain brand.
Yeah.
You could say, do you have this in a size medium? I'm usually a size 8 in other brands, but I'm not familiar with this one.
That's a great tip. It saves you from trying on like 5 different sizes in the fitting room.
Right. And speaking of fitting rooms,
Yeah.
the podcast has some good phrases for that too. Things like, could I try this on, please? Or, do you have a larger size I could try?
Okay, so I've found the perfect outfit, tried it on.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's time for the cashier. Any tips for a smooth checkout?
The podcast highlights being clear and concise when you're talking to the cashier.
Got it.
Clearly say how you're paying cash, card, contactless, and let them know if you need a bag.
What if I want to ask about a discount or a sale item? Is that like rude?
Not at all. It's totally fine to ask about those.
Okay.
They suggest phrases like, excuse me, is this item on sale? Or are there any discounts for this product?
So I shouldn't be shy about asking.
Yeah.
What if there's a problem with what I bought? Like it's damaged or the wrong size?
That's when you need to be assertive. Remember, you have every right to ask for a refund or an exchange if there's a problem.
Right.
The podcast says to stay calm and polite. Clearly explain the problem and what you want done, for example. Excuse me, I bought this earlier, but it's damaged. Could I get a refund or exchange it?
Okay, so being polite, but also standing up for myself when I need to.
Exactly. And remember, clear communication is super important when you're shopping.
Got it.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, be clear about what you need, and speak up if there's an issue.
Okay, I think I've mastered shopping now. What's next on our English conversation adventure?
Well, now that you've got your shopping bags, we need to figure out how to get around. Let's talk transportation.
Let's do it. But honestly, public transport can be a little scary, especially in a new city.
I totally understand. Figuring out buses, trains, those ticket machines, it can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
But the podcast has some good tips for making it less stressful.
Okay, what other secrets?
First, plan ahead. Before you even leave, take some time to look up your route, check the schedules, and figure out how to pay.
Okay,
Most cities have good websites or apps for that.
that's a good tip. No one wants to be running around looking for the bus stop when they're already late.
Exactly. And if you're not sure about something, don't be afraid to ask.
Right.
You could ask a station worker or even another passenger for help. A simple, excuse me, could you tell me which platform the train to destination leaves from will work?
Okay, so I've planned my route, found the right platform, now I'm on the train or bus.
Mm-hmm.
What about getting off at the right stop and figuring out those exit doors?
Yes, the art of getting off gracefully. They remind you to pay attention to the announcements and screens so you don't miss your stop.
Oh.
And if you're not sure, just politely ask someone, excuse me, is this the stop for destination?
Right, because you don't want to end up a stop too far and have to go back.
Exactly. And when it comes to exiting, just watch what other people are doing or politely ask the driver.
Okay, so buses and trains, check. What about taxis or ride sharing?
They've got tips for that too.
Yeah.
For taxis, they say to make eye contact with the driver, raise your hand, and clearly say where you're going. Like, excuse me, could you take me to address or landmark, please?
Got it. What about when you're in a hurry or it's hard to find a taxi? I've heard ride sharing is really common in a lot of English-speaking countries.
Absolutely. It's super common now.
So how do you navigate that?
They suggest downloading one of the popular apps, making an account, and getting familiar with how it works before you actually need it.
Okay.
That way, you'll be ready to enter your destination, track the driver, and even pay all through the app.
Sounds easy. What if I have special requests like needing a car seat or letting them know I have a lot of luggage?
Great questions. The podcast actually talks about that.
Oh, good.
A lot of those apps let you choose extra options, like a car seat or a bigger car for luggage.
So planning ahead and knowing how the app works can really make things easier?
Definitely. And don't forget about just talking to your driver.
Uh-huh.
If you have any special needs, just politely let them know.
Great advice. Okay, so restaurants, shopping, transportation, all done. What's next on our English conversation challenge list?
Well, now for something more fun. How about making plans with friends and doing some leisure activities?
Sounds good. But sometimes even arranging a simple coffee date feels hard.
I know what you mean. But the podcast breaks down making plans into easy steps.
Okay.
Focusing on key phrases and, cultural stuff.
Okay, I'm listening. What do they say?
Well, they really emphasize being clear and specific when you're inviting someone.
Okay.
Instead of just, want to hang out sometime. Try, hey, would you be interested in grabbing coffee this Saturday afternoon? Or, Are you free for dinner next Tuesday evening?
Ah, I see. It's about suggesting a specific time and activity.
Exactly. And when you're suggesting things to do, think about what the other person likes.
Yeah.
Don't just assume everyone wants to do the same thing.
Right.
Try offering a few choices and see what they think.
So being considerate, I like that.
And once you've agreed on what to do and when, confirm the details, like where you're meeting.
Okay. You could say, let's meet at the cafe on Main Street at 2 p.m. It's right next to the bookstore.
So clear communication is important, from the invitation to the final details.
Exactly. And don't forget to be enthusiastic. Let your friend know you're excited to hang out.
Okay, so I've mastered making plans, but what about if I need to change them or cancel last minute? Is there a polite way to do that?
Definitely. The podcast talks about this, stressing honesty, being clear, and a sincere apology. Instead of just texting, sorry, can't make it, try, hey, I'm so sorry, but something came up and I won't be able to make it to dinner tonight. Could we reschedule?
So explain briefly, say you're sorry, and maybe suggest another time.
Exactly. And most people are understanding, especially if you're clear and sincere.
Okay, so making plans, changing plans, leisure activities, all checked. Feeling pretty good about my English now.
You should. We've covered a lot. But there's one more area to explore personal growth and why it's important to keep learning.
Okay, interesting. How does that fit into everyday English conversations? Well, think of it this way. As your language skills improve, you also have more chances for personal and professional growth. You can talk to more people, get more information, and express yourself better in different situations.
Ah, I see. It's like a chain reaction. As your language gets better, so does your confidence.
Exactly. And the podcast emphasizes that personal growth is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
It wants you to have a growth mindset, believing that you can get better through hard work.
I've heard about this growth mindset. What does it actually mean?
It means seeing challenges as chances to learn, not things to avoid.
Oh, okay.
It means being open to feedback, even if it's not good, and using it to improve, and believing you can learn and grow even when it's tough.
So resilience, adapting, always trying to improve.
Exactly. And the podcast has some practical tips for developing this mindset, starting with setting realistic goals.
Okay.
These goals could be about speaking English better, learning more words, or even just feeling more comfortable talking in different situations.
So goals give you something to work towards.
Right. What about when you feel stuck or like you're not improving fast enough?
Yeah, that happens.
That's where positive self-talk and support from others comes in.
Okay.
The podcast says to celebrate your wins, even small ones, and remind yourself how far you've come.
Yep.
Also, find a language partner or join a group to practice and get feedback.
That's a great idea. It helped to have other people who are learning too.
Absolutely. And remember, personal growth isn't just about reaching specific goals.
Right.
It's also about enjoying the process and becoming a more confident person.
And those aha moments when you realize you're understanding more, speaking better, and feeling more comfortable.
Exactly. And those moments of progress, big or small, are what keep you motivated.
Okay, I see how language learning and personal growth go hand in hand. It's not just about vocabulary, it's about growing as a person.
Precisely. And the amazing thing is, this journey has no end.
Yeah.
There's always something new to learn, a new skill to master.
So always keep learning and growing, knowing there's always more to discover.
Exactly. And you don't have to do it alone. Find resources you like, connect with other learners, and find people who can help you.
This has been such a cool exploration of personal growth.
Yeah,
It's like we found a treasure chest of wisdom and tips,
really is.
not just for better English, but for becoming more confident people too.
It's been great diving into these ideas with you. It reminds us that learning a new language is so much more than just, a brain exercise.
Right.
It can really change you as a person.
Absolutely. It's a journey full of challenges, successes, and tons of chances to learn and grow.
And speaking of chances, I'm curious what you think, listener. What stood out to you most about personal growth? What are you inspired to do now?
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember, you're in charge of your own life. Embrace personal growth with excitement and believe in yourself.
And to wrap up this deep dive into everyday English conversations and personal growth, I want to leave you with a final thought.
Okay, let's hear it.
Learning a language and personal growth are often connected. As you get better at English, you open up new ways to communicate and understand others. And as you grow personally, you become more confident and able to handle new challenges.
It's like they help each other, creating a cycle of growth.
Exactly. So keep learning, keep growing, and keep exploring what's out there.
Well said. And remember, the world is full of amazing people and experiences. Embrace the journey and never stop believing in yourself. Wow, it's amazing how much we've covered, from those first hello, how are yous, to restaurants and shopping and transportation.
Yeah.
Even making plans with friends and that deep dive into personal growth. It feels like we've really leveled up our confidence for those everyday conversations in English.
It has been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has. And the exciting thing is, it's just the beginning. The more you use these skills and keep that growth mindset,
Right.
the more fluent and comfortable you'll become speaking English.
Absolutely.
It's like that saying, practice makes progress.
Yeah, exactly.
But for someone who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed with all this information, what would you say are the most important things to remember? Those key takeaways that can really help them day to day?
That's a great question. I think one of the big ones is just remembering to be clear and polite when you're communicating.
Yeah.
Remember those magic words, please, thank you, excuse me. They make a huge difference in any English-speaking environment.
It's true. Those little bits of courtesy can really smooth things over.
Exactly. And don't underestimate a genuine smile and making eye contact.
Oh, yeah.
Those nonverbal things can say a lot, especially when you're still getting comfortable speaking English.
It's like a universal language of kindness, you know?
Absolutely. And another really important thing is being specific and direct when you're talking.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions if you need something explained. Say what you need clearly and stand up for yourself politely but firmly when you have to.
It's about being assertive but respectful at the same time.
Exactly. And remember, everyone makes mistakes, especially when they're learning a new language.
Yeah.
Think of those slip-ups and stumbles as chances to learn and get better. Don't let them stop you from speaking up and talking to people.
It's about being okay with being a learner, you know?
Right, exactly. And as you keep going on this journey of learning English, remember to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Oh, yeah.
Every time you handle a new situation well, try a new phrase, or have a good conversation in English, acknowledge that progress and be proud of yourself for the effort you're putting in.
It's those small wins that keep you motivated, for sure.
Absolutely. And remember, learning a language isn't just about the skill itself. It's about opening up all these new possibilities.
Like what?
Connecting with people from different cultures, exploring new ideas, and experiencing the world in a richer way.
There's that saying, with a new language, you get a new soul.
I love that. It really captures how powerful learning a language can be.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listener with a question to think about.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Imagine you could have a conversation with anyone in the world in fluent, confident English. Who would you choose to talk to, and what would you ask them?
That's a great question. It really makes you think about what's possible when you can communicate well with people from different cultures.
Exactly. It's about sparking that curiosity to connect and believing in the power of language to bring people together.
Well said. And on that inspiring note, thank you for joining us on this depth dive into everyday English conversations and personal growth.
It's been a pleasure diving into these topics with you.
And remember, keep those conversations going, keep learning and growing, and enjoy the journey of language learning and personal development.
Until next time.